So I'm reading on, and I go, okay, let's read a few chapters later when there's another crowd. Luke 14. Luke 14. Oh, this thing's falling off of me. In Luke 14, it says, in verse 25, it says, okay, great. Now great crowds accompanied him. So he's got the crowds again. Okay, you screwed up last time, Jesus. What are you going to do this time? Because everyone left. Everyone left confused. What are you going to do this time? Now you've got great crowds again. Great crowds come. Verse 25, he turns and says to them, he goes, hey, if anyone comes to me and doesn't hate his father, mother, wife, children, brothers, sisters, yeah, even your own life, you can't be my disciple. And if you don't bear your own cross and come after me, you can't be my disciple. Nice introduction. See, I get excited about crowds. I do. I like a full room. But Jesus, when he saw crowds, he didn't get excited. He got skeptical. He goes, man, how many of you guys are the good soil? Most of you guys, you're just going to, you'll make some decision to follow me, but the moment it gets difficult, you're going to die. The wind's going to blow you, here, there, everything else. You love me, but you love so many other things too. It's never going to sprout out. So the next time that there's this crowd, he looks at them, he goes, are you sure you all should be in here? I'm not sure you guys are really followers of me. He goes, let's just get through this thing. You hate your father? Your mom, your wife? You willing to leave them all for me? Do you think I'm that great? See, if Jesus were in this room, he would say, okay, I'm gonna walk out that door. And if you want to follow me, understand that when I walk out that door, you may never see your family again. You ready to follow me? You ready to let go of all of that? Your little kids, your spouse, am I that great to you? Am I like this treasure you find in a field where you're like, man, I'll just give I gotta have you wherever you go. And he says, outside that door, you don't know what's outside that door. Maybe outside that door are a bunch of crosses. And maybe this afternoon, we're each going to pick up a cross and walk up the closest hill. And we're going to be crucified together. Still want to follow me? That's what Jesus said. That's the way Jesus preached. And he makes sure they understood this, because then he goes, verse 28, he goes, because which of you desiring to build a tower doesn't first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he's laid a foundation and isn't able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. He goes, it's like building a tower, building a building. He goes, don't you sit down and go, okay, do I have enough? Do I want to spend enough? Do I want to give all of this away into this? Do I even have it? He goes, otherwise you're going to build a tower halfway and realize, oh, I can't complete it. He goes, everyone's going to laugh at you. It's foolish. He goes, in the same way, he goes, I'm telling you about the cost ahead of time. I'm saying, if you want to follow me, because I don't want you quitting partway. I don't want you halfway going, well, I didn't know that meant I couldn't date him. I didn't know that means I had to stay married to her. I didn't know that meant that we could. He goes, no, I'm telling you, this means everything. But I didn't know that meant that maybe my daughter and I might not even. Yeah. He goes, I'm telling you ahead of time, because I don't want you to get into this thing part way, and then when God doesn't give you everything you want, or maybe even makes your life more difficult, then you'll quit. He goes, why build it halfway? Just quit right now. I'm telling you, everything ahead of time, you're going, okay, that's too much of a cost. Don't build a tower. He goes, if you don't understand that illustration, he gives another one. He goes, or what king going out to encounter another king in war, won't he first sit down and deliberate whether he's able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? And if not, while the other's still a far way off, he sends a delegation and asks for terms of peace. So therefore, any one of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple. He goes, this is like going to war. He goes, this is like going to war. It's like, wouldn't you, if you were a king and you had a choice, and you've got this army, and go, man, they've got 20,000, we got 10,000. Do I really want to enter this war? Because we'll probably die. And he goes, if you don't want to get in the fight, he goes, you'll send a team ahead of time, and go to the other king, go, hey, let's not fight. Here's a fruitcake. Let's just get along. And he explains, man, this is a war we're in, right? He goes, do you understand? If you don't want to fight, if you look at the world and go, man, but the world's got this, you don't want to fight it? Then go join them. Have peace with them. He goes, but the rest of us, we're going to join. We're in a war. We're building a tower that's costly and could cost our lives. Because I think a lot of times we don't have this war mentality. We don't really think of ourselves as building an army. And so even I get this way, we get this way as leaders, where we start complaining. And I mean, can you imagine if an officer, standing there and one of the soldiers comes running in and goes, man, they were shooting things at me. You'd be like, what? Yeah, they threw this thing and it blew up and it killed a bunch of people. I didn't know that was going to happen. You go, you idiot, this is a war. And I think a lot of times we can do that. Like, what? Are you kidding me? This happened. You guys, we're in a war here. We're in a war. If you're not ready to die for this thing, then let's just make peace. But the world's going to get worse. And it's going to be harder and harder and harder. And it's about fighting this thing. So he gives these examples. He goes, it's like building a tower. It's like going to war. But then he says this. Listen to this. Verse 34. At first I didn't get it. He goes, salt is good. But if salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It's of no use, either for the soil or for the manure pile. It's thrown away. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. So then I understood the tower thing, I understood the war thing, but then he goes, salt. He goes, salt is good, isn't it? Yeah. He goes, okay, but what if salt loses its saltiness? What are you going to do with it? Okay, so flavorless salt? He goes, there's no use to flavorless salt, right? He goes, you can't throw it in the dirt because dirt's good. Things grow in it. He goes, it's not even fit for the manure pile. He goes, because manure is good. It fertilizes. And you put that flavorless salt on it, it could ruin it. And so he explains this whole thing, and he goes, he who has ears, let him hear. What was his point? His point was, he says, look, you guys all look like salt. He goes, but what if salt doesn't have that taste to it? What if you don't have this saltiness to really just go the whole way with me? If you don't have this whole, I will pick up my cross, I'll die for you, he's saying you're worthless to me. He looks at this group of people and he goes, what am I going to do with a bunch of people that won't go to the cross with me? What am I going to do with a bunch of salt that doesn't have flavor? Do you understand what he's saying? He doesn't say that, hey, you're in this process. No, he just goes, man, unless you're willing to go all the way with me, I'm not interested. You don't have the saltiness. He goes, I don't even know what to do with this whole crowd. He goes, you're like flavorless salt. It's like, think about what he's saying about flavorless salt. He goes, there's nothing to do with flavorless salt. Like you're worse than the dirt. He goes, you're worse than crap. So he's going, so if I have a pile of crap here and you're standing on it, I'm like, get off, you're ruining my crap. That's what Jesus is saying to this crowd. He goes, what am I going to do with you? You guys would ruin crap. I'm going, man, Jesus. Take it easy, right? No wonder everyone's leaving. So I'm reading this stuff, and I'm looking at Jesus, and I'm just going, man, doesn't make sense. Maybe I'm watering rocks. Maybe I'm with a bunch of flavorless salt. Let me ask you something. I'm going to put a little salt in my pocket. Now let's say I got a little bit of salt. See it? See that? Okay, let's say this is real salt. Okay? This is real salt. It's got flavor. It's just a little bit of it, but this is the real salt. Now let's suppose I have a container of flavorless salt. Okay, let's say this is a bunch of salt that has no flavor. what would be the point of taking this good salt and then going like this? Can you see any reason for doing that? I do. So you can walk around and go, look how big my pile is. See, I like doing that. How big's your pile? Look how big my pile is. And we go around telling everyone, look what a big pile I got. I'm just going, pile of what? We like this. Come on, let's just be honest. Don't you like this? I like big crowds. I cannot lie. you other pastors can't deny. It's just this, isn't it true? We like it. We like this thought of just, bragging about this or that and everything else. You walk around with this little pile. I enjoy a full room. I do. I love it. I hate when people leave the church.